I want you to think about the last time you were exhausted. And maybe you don't have to think very far back to remember that time, but not just tired, but that deep bone level tired. And your response was to push harder, to add more to the list, to cut the sleep, to hustle through the weekend, to tell yourself, I just need to get through this season and then I'll rest. And then the season ended and the next one started. And you never actually rested. You fake rested, then you realize you were real tired. If that's your story, number one, you're not alone. And today I want to offer you a different way because here's what the geese figured out thousands of years ago. The answer was never to flap harder, it was to get information. This is the final episode of our Fly Further series, so let's finish this strong. Welcome to the Life Coaching for Mompreneurs podcast, where you will learn simple solutions to win at work without losing at home. Hi, my name is Martine Williams, and I am your host and CEO, your Chief Encouragement Officer. And this podcast is your one-stop shop to creating a burnout-proof life and business by elevating your clarity, confidence, and courage. Friends, it's time to say goodbye to being the yes girl, to procrastinating on your goals and living in overwhelm. And it's time to say hello to creating healthy boundaries, healthy mindsets, and healthy habits so that you can achieve work-life harmony. Your next breakthrough starts here. This is the Life Coaching for Mompreneurs podcast. Let's do this. So I want to welcome you back to Life Coaching for Mompreneurs. And again, the final of our 3-part Fly Further series. And if you haven't listened to episodes 1 and 2 yet, I really encourage you to go back and start there. But if you're just jumping in here for the first time, my name is Martine Williams. I'm the host of the show. I'm your CEO, your Chief Encouragement Officer. And here's kind of the quick version of what we've been talking about. So geese flying in a V formation means they can travel up to 70% farther than a single goose flying alone. I heard a woman talk about this at a leadership event, and it just really hit for what we talk about here on the podcast. And I love a visual, and I will never look at the V formation of geese flying over my house the same ever again. But they do this not because they're stronger, but because they're smarter about how they fly. Episode 1 was about stopping the solo flight and getting into community. Episode 2 was about the rotation principle and leading and then recovering and then leading again. And today, episode 3 is the one I've been kind of building towards this whole series because this is where it all comes together. So today we're talking about alignment over hustle, about what it actually looks like to fly smarter instead of harder. You probably heard me say that before too. It's not about working harder, it's about working smarter. And why more effort is not always the answer. And then what is? Let's go back to the formation one more time because there's something we haven't fully really unpacked yet as we've been going through this 3-part series. But when they fly in that V formation, when a goose is not at the front, but behind and kind of slightly to the side of the bird ahead of her, she's flying in an updraft. The lead bird's wings create that upward current of air. And the birds that are in the formation, they are literally being lifted by that current. They're not fighting the air, they're working with it. And as a result, as I've said every episode, they can fly up to 70% farther on the same amount of energy. Not because they trained harder, not because they are more talented, but because they're in alignment with the conditions around them. Now, I want to be clear, they are still flying. This is not passive. The geese in formation are working, but they're working in a way that uses the resources available to them. The wisdom of the bird ahead, the lift of the updraft, the energy of the formation, instead of grinding against the conditions they could be working with. And that's what alignment looks like. When I talk about alignment here on the podcast, we're gonna talk about today what that looks like in the different areas and what it means to have aligned success versus stress success. But it's not the absence of effort. It's effort that is oriented, that is intentional and positioned to get the most out of what you have. Listen, I'm a hard worker. So when you hear me talking about rest and talking about being in alignment, I'm not saying that there's not work involved. There is work involved in building a business. There is work involved in building a family with a business. There is work involved in taking care of yourself and protecting the asset. So this is not a passive exercise. But here's a question that I want you to think about today. In your life and in your business right now, are you flying in the updraft or are you fighting the air? You're fighting against your resources. And maybe you're not even intentionally fighting against the resource. Maybe you just don't know what those resources are. You're not aware of who you are, what your priorities are, what your capacity is, and you just don't have the awareness around that. So I want to talk about the hustle trap. We've talked about balance being a trap, but hustle is also a trap because it's one of the most seductive and destructive patterns I see in the women that I coach and that I've experienced. The hustle trap looks like you're working incredibly hard. You're busy from the moment you wake up. You're productive by every external measure, and you are getting results, some results, enough results to kind of keep you going, but you're exhausted. And deep down, you have this like nagging feeling that you're working way harder than it should require. And there's just this unsettledness about you. Does that sound familiar at all? So here's what's happening when you're in the hustle trap. You're flying without the updraft. You're working in ways that are misaligned with your strengths, your season, and your actual priorities. And so you need more effort to produce the same results. You're working against the air instead of with it. So let me give you a few ways that this shows up. You're doing the work that isn't yours to do, work you've held on to because you don't trust anyone else with it, so you struggle with delegation, or because letting go feels uncomfortable, or because you've convinced yourself it's just easier if you just go ahead and handle it. But it's draining your energy that should be going somewhere else. Maybe it shows up for you by pursuing goals that aren't actually aligned with what you want. When's the last time you sat down and asked yourself, what do I want? Without any like, I couldn't do this, that's not possible. But if you couldn't fail, what would you want? And maybe your goals are someone else's vision for your life. Maybe they made sense in a different season. It's okay for your goals to shift and your perspectives to shift and what you want to shift in different seasons of your life. But you've been chasing them so long that you stopped asking whether they still fit. And the lack of real motivation is costing you extra effort just to stay in motion. And I feel like this was me over the last year. Now, we've had a lot going on personally over the last year, but from a business standpoint, I felt like I was definitely pursuing goals and strategies that were what I see a lot of my peers doing, but I could not like stay excited about it. I couldn't, it felt much, much harder for me. And now I know we can change our thoughts to create the different emotion, but sometimes it's just leaning into, okay, is this the business I actually want? And now that I have gotten honest about that and I have stopped just trying to do what I see other people doing, I'm way more excited and motivated and energized by pursuing the business model that I'm pursuing right now. You've heard me talk about getting less online and more offline. And that's because the season is different. My kids are older and I have the margin and the bandwidth to go and travel if I want to, do more speaking out of town. And so all of those things are way more available to me now. And they're also in alignment with what I actually want to be doing. Maybe you're working in your stress zone instead of your strength zone. And this one's huge. When you're operating primarily from your areas of stress, the tasks, the environments, and the roles that drain you, everything costs more. It's like flying into the headwind. You can do it. You've been doing it, but you will be tired in a way that rest alone won't fix. Quick pause. If you've been listening and you're ready to stop performing your life and start leading it, if you know you're ready to feel better now, not later, and you're ready for support that actually creates sustainable transformation, I have private one-on-one coaching spots open. And inside this coaching, in Illuminate You coaching, we don't guess. We use your unique personality blueprint built from the science-backed personality and performance tool called the ProScan, the one you've heard me talk about here in the podcast. This is used so that every decision, every boundary, every shift is designed specifically around your wiring, not someone else's. This is my aligned success method. It's not hacks. It's not try harder. It's not mindset glitter. It's a real solution. It's rooted in science, strategy, and your unique design. So you can lead your life as the woman you actually are, not the woman others expect you to be. Now is the time. Take the step. Book your clarity call at martinewilliams.com/clarity. All right, back to the episode. So this is actually something that I see so clearly through the personality blueprint experience that I take my one-on-one clients through using the Pro Scan. When someone's daily demands are misaligned with their natural strengths and energy, they're not just tired, they're depleted, and even at the identity level. So the solution is never going to be more coffee or a better calendar system. It's understanding yourself on this level so that you can align your schedule and your tasks and the things that you're doing with your natural strengths. This doesn't mean that I don't do things on a weekly basis that are outside of my strengths naturally. I do. As a CEO, there's things about my personality that I have to adjust and stretch that do take energy. I just know now how to manage my energy around those days that are going to require more of me, that are going to require, it's going to feel like I'm, going straight into like the wind, like I'm walking against the wind versus with the wind. So the truth is, you can be incredibly disciplined and still be ineffective if your effort is pointed in the wrong direction. Discipline without alignment is just a very organized hustle. I'm going to say that again. Discipline without alignment is just very organized hustle. And I would also say discipline that's not tethered to desire, which is where that alignment piece comes in. Aligning with what you actually desire and what you actually want. It just becomes a very organized hustle. You're disciplined. I'm very disciplined, but I've been very disciplined towards the things that are not as exciting to me, that are not things that I want to be spending my time on. And so I felt like I was walking uphill with a bag of bricks on my back. So let's talk about what it actually looks like to fly in the updraft, to do the work of alignment so that your effort starts producing more with less friction. And that's where I feel like I'm at right now. I'm so excited and I'm so motivated and I'm so just in a place like there's things I'm still learning, but I'm excited to learn them. I'm excited to figure it out. I'm managing my mind and managing my emotions around it. And so I want to walk you through the 5 areas where I want you to evaluate your alignment right now. And I want you to think of these as your like V formation check. So the first one is alignment with your identity. And this is the foundation. Who are you really? What are your core strengths? What are the values that when you're living in them, you feel most like yourself? When your work and your life are built around your actual identity, not the identity you performed to succeed, not the identity you inherited from someone else's expectations, everything flows differently. So the formation question here is, are you flying as yourself or as a version of yourself you built to survive? I also like to think of, are you flying as the version of you that is required to hit your goals, to create your dreams, to create the business, to create the health goals that you have, to create the relationship goals that you have? Because there's always a new level of identity that we're growing into. And are you operating as her now? Do you know what she looks like? Do you know what she would be spending her time on? Do you know who she'd be spending her time with? So not the version of you that you have now, but also the version of you that has the result that you're looking for. We have to be thinking about her. The second one is alignment with your priorities. And this is a big one too, because what matters most to you? Not what you say matters most, or what you think is politically correct, or what you think everyone else says should be most important, but what does your calendar and your energy actually say matters most? Because there's often a gap between our stated priorities and our lived priorities. And that gap is exhausting to maintain. And there's no shame or judgment. It's just you getting honest about, okay, what is it that I want in that right now in this season? Not what I used to want or what I had before or what I have now, but what matters most to you right now? And then does your calendar reflect that? The things you're spending your time on, does that reflect that? When your daily choices are in alignment with what you genuinely value most, you stop experiencing that low grade guilt and resentment that comes from feeling like you're always sacrificing one thing for another. You understand that in this season, these things are the priority, and you start making decisions from clarity instead of conflict. So, number 3 is alignment with your capacity. Your capacity is real, and it's not a personal failing. It is the fact of being human. Like it is finite. Like you have a certain amount of capacity. When we do the pro scan, we will be able to see what your natural capacity levels are. We all have different ones naturally. Now you can grow your capacity in different seasons. But aligned success means building a life that fits your actual capacity, not the capacity you wish you had, not the capacity you had 5 years ago, not the capacity of the woman you're comparing yourself to online, your capacity in this season. Really being really honest about that. Are you living inside your capacity? Are you honoring your capacity? Do you even know what your capacity is? Or are you chronically overcommitted and calling it ambition? Are you chronically saying yes to everything? If you're saying yes to one thing, you're saying no to something else. So we want to make sure that we are in alignment with our capacity for the season that you're in right now. And I was thinking the other day about how, for me, it takes more, like, I need more accountability to slow down. Not so much now, but I remember like when I was in the throes of building my first business, like you didn't have to tell me to get to work. You didn't have to hold me accountable to working. What I needed accountability for was to slow down, to take the breath, to be present, to take care of the asset, which is me. Now, for some of you, you might have lots of capacity that you're not utilizing, that you do need more accountability to get to work. So question your capacity right now. Where are you at in that? Are you honoring it? Are you utilizing it to the fullest extent? And number 4 is alignment with your strengths. So this is kind of tied into your identity too, but when you're operating in your strength zone versus your stress zone, you do things that you are generally wired to do well. Work feels different. It just does. It still requires effort. I mean, I'm still required to have a lot of effort in what I'm doing right now, but it's the effort that energizes rather than drains. So I'm excited to learn how to create the collective and not create it, but like learn how to go to different cities and bring women around a table. And I'm very energized by the effort and the new things that I'm learning because it's very connected to what my natural strength is, which is people, being in front of people, being with people, encouraging people, teaching people, leading people. So it's the difference between flying with the updraft and flying against the headwind. Knowing your strengths is not vanity, it is a strategy. And designing your work around them as much as possible is one of the highest leverage things you can do for your productivity and your sustainability. It really is. Because you know how to manage your schedule, you know how to manage your time and your energy, which is more important than your time. When you know the things that are going to come easier to you and that really energize you, and when you know the things that drain you. And that's all based on your personality type and the traits of your personality. There's 4 different traits of our personality. We have dominance, extroversion, pace, and conformity. So you knowing the intensity of each 4 of those in your personality allows you to operate in alignment with your strengths and to manage your energy around those strengths. Hey friend, let's talk. It's time to book your clarity call. We are going to spend 1 full hour focused on you. A clarity call isn't about pressure. It's about possibilities. It's about you. You having a space to talk through what's on your heart and mind, you walking away with a clear vision and practical next steps, and you feeling confident in what's next and how to get there. You don't need to have it all figured out. That's my job. All you need to do is show up and we'll figure it out together. This is the best hour you can invest in yourself right now. Not in 6 months from now, not next month, right now. And don't just take my word for it. Here's what one of my coaching clients had to say after working together.
Working with Martine was truly a game changer for both my life and my business. She challenged me to step outside of my comfort zone and helped me clearly identify the areas where I was feeling the most resistance, and then guided me in creating solutions that actually fit my personality and my working style. What I appreciate most is how genuine and grounded she is in every conversation and how naturally she blends life and business guidance together. As a female business owner, a mom, and now a dear friend, I deeply value the time, care, and energy she invested in me during our weekly sessions. Ending each week with clarity, momentum, and a reset mindset was incredibly powerful. The lessons and perspective I gained will stay with me for years to come. And I'm excited to see how my business continues to grow because of her support and direction. I'm so grateful for her coaching, encouragement, and the steady presence through one of the most challenging seasons of my business. As a sole provider for our family, signing up for coaching with Martine was one of the best investments I've ever made for both myself and for my business.
That transformation, it starts with one conversation. It's time to stop spinning your wheels and start making real progress. So head right now to martinewilliams.com or in the show notes and grab your private clarity call spot on my calendar before they're gone. And since I personally monitor my inbox, if you don't see a time slot that fits your calendar, just send me an email at martinewilliams.com with 3 times that do work, and I will make it work for you. All right, friend, let's get back to the show. Okay, my number 5 is alignment with your season. You are not in the same season you were 3 years ago. I'm not in the same season that I was 3 years ago. And your business isn't either. And your family probably isn't either. And your body probably isn't either. And what worked then may not be what's needed now. Aligned success requires the willingness to regularly reassess and to ask, what does this season require of me? And am I responding to what is actually true right now, or am I running a playbook that belongs to a season that has already passed? And that could be a season where you're growing and you're building, and like that's the season you're in. And it also might be the opposite, where it's a season where I'm maintaining right now. I'm in some personal stuff going on. I'm just maintaining my business right now. Or maybe it's a little bit of both throughout the week. But we want to be regularly reassessing. And so we're not just doing things out of habit or obligation or what we did before or what was expected of us before, but where you are, being true to who you are right now and where you are right now. Right now, we're by the grace of God, we're on the other end of some really, really hard times. And I feel like for the first time in probably, I don't know, a year or longer, I feel like my brain finally has the capacity to think creatively again, to think in growth mode versus just survival and maintaining. But I also, during the surviving and the maintaining season, had to be really gracious towards myself and to grow my capacity to be kind to myself and to just be where I was and trust that I knew how to grow and I could turn on the faucet and grow my business again when this season was different. And so I'm there now, and it does feel really good to be using my brain in new ways again, or in creative ways, and not having the heaviness of what was going on personally, going on in my life. So these 5 areas: identity, priorities, capacity, strengths, and season, that's your formation. And when those are aligned, you're flying in the updraft. You're working with the conditions set against them, and you're going to go further on less. You just will. Try it out. Just try one of the areas, or just evaluate all 5. So I want to close the loop on something we've been building across this whole series. In episode 1, we talked about the identity of the solo flyer, the woman who has decided she doesn't need anyone, who flies alone and calls it strength. Episode 2, we talked about the identity of the woman who can never stop leading, who stays at the front, past the point of sustainability because stepping back feels like failure. And in episode 3 here, I want to name the identity we've been building towards this whole time, which is the aligned leader, soul aligned leader. The aligned leader, and I use leader meaning you're leading yourself. So whether you're in a true leadership position where you're leading a team, you're leading a family, you're leading yourself, but she knows that she was made for community and she built it intentionally. She doesn't fly solo when she doesn't have to. The aligned leader leads fully and recovers intentionally. She rotates, she rests, and she comes back with more to give. And the aligned leader doesn't just work hard, she works in alignment. She knows her strengths, she honors her capacity, and she makes choices that are consistent with her values and her season. She flies smarter not just harder. This is, again, not a passive identity. This is not a woman who has it all figured out and never struggles. That is definitely not it. It's a woman who has decided to stop performing her success and start leading from the inside out. And here's what I know about that woman. She goes further. She lasts longer, and she builds something that sustains in her business, in her family, and in her soul. She's flying in that formation, and she's flying further because of it. And that is who I believe you are, or that you're capable of being. And that's who this series has been calling you toward, if it's not you. And the question I want to leave you with today, and really the question for the whole series, is this: what would change in your life if you stopped flapping harder and finally got information? What would that look like for you? What would become possible? What would become possible? So before I give you your reflection questions, I want to take just a moment to honor what we've covered in this series. Again, in episode 1, you were never meant to fly alone. Community is not luxury. Coaching and being in mentorship, like, it's how you go further. No question about it. And as I shared in episode 1, I've had a coach for over 15 years. I had the same coach for over 10 years. And so it's part of my success strategy now to be in community and to have a coach of some sort. It's not a question of if I'm going to be in community or if I'm going to have a coach. It's what community am I going to join and who am I going to hire to be my coach? And I might have the same coach for over 10 years. So it's not weakness when you choose that. It's wisdom, because you're going to be able to go further faster when you're in formation with other people. It's just the way it is. In episode 2, the strongest leaders know when to fall back. They know how to delegate, and they know that rotation is not weakness. Again, it's another form of wisdom. They lead great. They lead hard. They work hard, and then they recover, and then they lead again. So where's your recovery as a leader, as a mom, and as an entrepreneur? Where are you protecting your greatest asset, which is you? And then in this episode, stop flapping harder. It's not about working harder. Get information. Aligned effort always outperforms scattered hustle. It truly does. These aren't just lessons from the geese. They are an invitation to a different way of leading your life. One that is sustainable, one that honors who you actually are, one that takes you further than you could ever go alone, and one that's just more joyful and fulfilling. So I hope this series has planted something real in you. I hope it's maybe brought some self-awareness. Maybe it's brought some questions. Answer the questions. I say this all the time when I'm coaching clients or just having conversations with women in business. And they're like, they'll ask a question. I'm like, that's a really great question. Have you answered it? And 9 times out of 10, they haven't answered it. So ask yourself the question. Like, the quality of your answers comes from the quality of the questions that you ask yourself. I hope these episodes and this series has given you language for something maybe you've been feeling, but you couldn't really name what it was. And I also hope that it gives you permission, if you needed it, to fly differently, to choose differently, to work differently, to build your business differently, to show up differently if you're wanting different results. So here are your 3 reflection questions for this final episode. The first one is, where in your life are you fighting against the air, working hard in a direction that isn't aligned with your strengths, your values, or your season? Number 2, of the 5 alignment areas, identity, priorities, capacity, strengths, and season, which one is the most out of alignment for you right now? And then number 3, what's one shift? I'm always going to call you to action. Just one that would move you from flapping harder to flying smarter. Write them down, think about them, answer them, and then take a step. Just what's the next step? Because awareness without action is just information. And I don't want any of you to listen to any of my podcast episodes and just get information or just get inspiration. Because inspiration without implementation is just inspiration. Inspiration with implementation is transformation. And I know that's what you want. You've done the work of seeing clearly. Now let it change something in you and for your family. So thank you for flying this series with me. It has meant more than you know, and it's just really crazy how from one luncheon that I started thinking about, okay, how can I take this whole story and science behind the geese and bring it to you and connect it to your life and your entrepreneur journey and your mompreneur journey. And so if these episodes resonate with you, I would love for you to share them with someone. I'd love for you to leave a rating and review if you haven't done that for the show yet. It's like the best form of thank you that you could give me or compliment you can give me. That was the word I was looking for, is leaving a review and a rating and letting me know, hey, this resonated. So if you also would like to do an energy audit, so I've created a free 5-minute energy audit for you. You can go to martinewilliams.com/energy audit and take that. It'll give you some instant results on where you are right now, what's your energy, what's draining your energy, where is it being drained, and then some next steps for you. So go and take that at martinewilliams.com/energy audit, I believe is the link. But thank you so much for again tuning into the show, and I'll catch you on our next episode. Well, that's a wrap, friends. Thank you for tuning in to today's episode. I really hope it met you right where you are and gave you some encouragement for your day. Could you do me the biggest favor and leave me a rating and review? Seriously, it's the best way for you to support the show. And while you're there, be sure to follow the show so you never miss an episode. Thanks again. And until next time, I am believing in you always.